Hi guys, welcome back. All right, so Geminis. Let's get into this and see kind of like what's the energy of the cosmos moving around right now. What's the imagery coming in? So we have an Ace of Cups first off, which is all about the encouragement of a character to exhibit more self-love. It's also to kind of pay attention to the love that exists in the world instead of the negatives, putting one's mindset more toward the positive actions that occur every day. And this talks about the actions that may come through from the universe to Gemini as well, like the simple things, Um, Maybe they get lucky and right as they're walking out of work, they're like, "Oh man, it's raining," and it stops raining just as Gemini exits the building, and it's like, "Oh, what a sweet, what a sweet gift from the universe." It's to notice the tiny details in life that are the small gifts. I guess conversely, we could also say it could be that this Gemini is really pleased that there's some rainfall because it's like, oh, look at that. We're not going to have such a drought. This is awesome to see the rainfall. Or it makes some really beautiful, evening skies or something. It's a reminder right now from the universe that there are little acts of love everywhere around us all the time, from the universe, from other people in our lives, and that love is not just about romantic love, but it's about the sharing of excellent emotion, the overflow of kindness. And where does that show up in Gemini's life? It's a good time to start exhibiting more of that, or to start looking for it and noticing it, because it could be really important for a Gemini who's maybe been a little bit disillusioned, and this could reverse that disillusionment just a little. Now we have the Seven of Cups, and it ended up sideways, but I'll show it upright first. This kind of also, to me, talks about this Gemini may be feeling called to celebrate something. Now, when I say celebrate, I don't mean that they have to like find some spiritual belief and perform some ritual. And we do see that happening here, though, right? We have someone offering, bowls of fruit and beautifully colored flowers and, lighting incense. And perhaps that is something. And we're coming right up to Easter. So there is a lot of like celebratory energy and a lot of like connection to that I'll just say the higher power. There's this energy of however the Gemini chooses to celebrate. And I love the fact that we have the mountain, and mountains in different cultures are highly revered and said to have their own, personas. And in fact, this is not just a mountain, but rather also a volcano. It reminds me of Mount Etna, actually. So shout out to Sicily. But we have this element of realizing that there's a lot of different ways to honor and celebrate the life that we have. And there could be some push that this Gemini has. This Gemini could find themselves discovering a belief system or a spiritual path that really clicks with them. It doesn't have to be that this Gemini is on path to find like a higher belief system, but that just could be naturally something that they find themselves consistently being faced with again and again. And they be kind of intrigued in realizing, wow, lots of look at the universe from a variety of different standpoints, and they honor life from a variety of different methods. And that could just, maybe there isn't just one way, maybe it's all of this is an act of love. I don't know, there's this very spiritual component and this very like energy of coming together despite the differences amongst individual belief systems. So that's a big component of this. Now we go into the Knight of Swords. Here's straight up Gemini energy, which is very different. This is a Gemini who has perhaps always been on the more scientific mindset, and even to the point where this Gemini could be getting more and more interested in metaphysics combined with hard science. You notice that we have a lot of physics and chemistry happening as well as human biology, because we get the human brain here. So this very much feels like our Gemini character is more interested right now in physics and sciences, but it's bringing them closer to understanding the intangible topic of love and unity and maybe cosmic conscious flow. I feel like there's going to be some big message that resonates really heavily with Gemini from a couple different avenues: spiritual avenues combining with scientific avenues, combining with biological avenues, and combining with kind of the cosmos. This Gemini is looking for some kind of understanding about the universe, about why we're here, and in a much broader concept. It's I feel like the Gemini could have some really interesting breakthroughs, some really amazing mindset. They could be somebody, if they're like if they are a scientist or if they are a writer or something like that, they could find sudden and profound inspiration that kind of merges all these concepts into one. We have the Tower. Maybe this is just a Gemini fully embracing the whole age of Aquarius and everything that's, the shifting energy. But this says nothing will be the same after Gemini sees things in this light. Nothing will be the same again. This is a very like esoteric kind of character that still is also rooted in scientific, what I can quantify and feel and touch, but they're realizing there are other things in this universe at play that we cannot quite feel. Well, we can feel it, but we may not be able to touch it. We feel it acting upon us, but we may not be able to quantify it. Like gravity, how do you measure, is it little particles? Is it gravitrons? Is it, what is it? What is gravity? We know it exists. We know it acts on us, but what is it? That's the kind of like mind-blowing concepts that this Gemini is delving into right now. And it's changing kind of the fabric of how they see life. What does that mean? It's definitely changing the fabric of how they see love. We got the Devil in the reverse. Oh, this is beautiful. This is a Gemini that is so incredibly content all of a sudden. They're so, this could be a Gemini whose heart is going to be very filled with, I'll say, the element of forgiveness, only because they're not holding on to anything that is like a lower vibration. They're not holding on to any ideas that this action is good, this action is bad. They're looking at it more like, hey, in the big old cosmic flow of stuff, we're all trying to figure out, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Why are we here? Ultimately, it's kind of like, and this is a hard message, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's almost like this particular Gemini is realizing that the good, the bad, and the ugly, all of it combined, is actually what we call life. And that's a beautiful thing. It's almost like, well, those are counterparts. In the Egyptian concept of Ma'at and Isfet, you couldn't have one without the other. Chaos and harmony are both equally as valuable and important in life. You just don't want them to get too out of whack. You don't want so much harmony that there's no spice of life, and you don't want so much chaos that there's no harmony. So somewhere in between those two, that's kind of where the Gemini is at. This Gemini is really making peace with whatever difficulties they endured in life, whatever heartbreaks they endured in life, whatever obstacles they've endured. They're very much like unperturbed by the struggles of life, the difficulties of life. And we're talking everything from like natural disasters to man-made disasters. This Gemini is at like this incredibly peaceful, harmonious level of acceptance, because they're like, all of this is a part of the big old ball of life. It isn't easy, it isn't smooth, but it is still beautiful. Okay, let's change direction just a little bit. So it's a very much like a mental emotional shift, and it's bringing a ton of happiness. Let's double down on that and say it's bringing 2 tons or 10 tons of happiness. We have a 10 of cups. I feel like this Gemini is about to embark on like the happiest next decade of their life. Maybe we could say this Gemini has had some incredible breakthrough. Maybe they have become enlightened. I will say that this, the prism of light, that rainbow that we see refracted in the light, and then the rainbow that we see coming through the water here, there's a lot of like really, somebody could be going to Hawaii. I was thinking rainbows in Hawaii. but somebody could be really feeling like, I look at that as the entirety of the entire light spectrum, just like this Gemini is looking at the entirety of life, the good, the bad, the ugly, the undesirable, the things we really want. It's all rolled into one big ball. We're not going to get all of everything. We're not going to get all bad and we're not going to get all good. It'll always be a mix. But the Gemini said, but I'm happy with that mix. I'm happy with all of it, honestly. This newfound sense of contentment is going to shift the direction of Gemini's life with that 10 of Cups. I feel like they're about to have, we have the Star. We also, sideways, we have the Justice card and we have the 9 of Pentacles. I think Gemini's greatest wishes and goals for their life are going to start coming true, like knocking them out of the park. Interestingly enough, other aspects of Gemini's life that they once upon a time thought were very important, buying a bigger house, finding better real estate, things that they were maybe struggling to have, those things may not get that much easier, mostly because those things don't matter as much to the Gemini. It doesn't feel like, well, this isn't fair. I should get more. I should be able to, create more. I should be paid more. Gemini's like, actually, that's not what's on my radar. What's on my radar right now is, what are my real goals? It's look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to, have a more comfortable home, buy a more comfortable home. It just says that in this moment, as Gemini's life moves forward, they're going to have so much more of their wishes, hopes, and dreams coming true. Their life is going to be lived on a way higher level, but a lot of the things they thought they needed for the sense of security, the things that they struggled so hard and still couldn't attain, those things they still may not get. They're going to get a whole different quality of life, and it's actually going to be a lot more satisfying. Let me put it this way. Instead of, maybe this Gemini was like, I want to find a way to buy a big house, have my career be really awesome, and find one partner to live in my big house with. And it's like, damn, why can't I seem to make that happen? Gemini is less concerned with it because instead, their next decade of life is like, wait a minute, I want to be in a community of people that I actually really feel supported by and that I support. I want to be doing work in a career that makes me feel like this is super valuable. And instead of me buying one big house and finding one particular romantic partner to live with, this can be international travel, and this could be becoming a star. This could be that this Gemini is about to become a speaker and they live all around the world. They're paid to go here, there, and everywhere. All of a sudden, that dream of having one big house in one area out in the country, that wouldn't work for them anymore. They're doing something way bigger, way better. Even sometimes, like the idea of bonding with just one relationship, this might not be the phase of Gemini's life to have just one relationship. You notice all these other people that they're connecting to that all share like some common dialogue. It could be that Gemini's about to touch a lot of lives, and once upon a time they kept thinking that they were supposed to basically be in one relationship in one small space, when that's not actually what their bigger life goal is. Gemini's bigger life goal is literally bigger. It's to touch more lives. It's to be a part of something way beyond what they originally were trying to make happen for themselves. So it makes sense that some things weren't happening for Gemini because their goals are actually way bigger. Also, with the 8 of Pentacles in the reverse, this challenges Gemini to not think that they only have one major goal in life. Even this incredible happiness, this incredible, possibly like rising as a bit of a star in being more seen and more visible and impacting more lives, even that is not going to probably be the end all be all. So don't tattoo that on and say, this is who I am. This is what identifies my life and, the culmination of what my purpose is. Because this says, no, this is possibly going to be one major life purpose, but this probably won't be the end all be all either. So to think that if this starts to become something that feels like it's a huge job and it's not enjoyable anymore, and they're grinding away, but they're ferociously saying, yeah, but I got to be loyal to this. I got to be dedicated to this. Like, say, for example, this Gemini ends up traveling around, connecting with a lot of people, being some keynote speaker, doing something where they don't live in one zip code, but rather they are kind of like able to travel a lot more, even that they can't get too attached to and say, well, this is what I have to do. Everybody needs me. This is what my function is now. Because at some point, there's going to be probably other gifts that surface for this Gemini, other things that they're still supposed to also do. And it really shouldn't feel like a job that they start to grind on. This is, again, this Gemini is kind of in this interesting like flow of the universe right now. We have an emperor. This energy is like, it's asking Gemini to embrace their role, but realize that their role is still dynamic and will continue to change. And they're on a pathway to either becoming the emperor or to meeting an emperor. And they're not there yet. This next phase of their life is going to be incredibly joyful. It's not going to be looked at like an intense job, but it is going to bring them to a major culmination in life. This major culmination could be meeting the person that is like the greatest match for them in this lifetime. Someone that they can really enjoy building an empire with. This is the path that they're already on, as long as they don't become too rigid, which is strange because this would say, well, aren't they going to end up with something like very, an emperor is something that is very tangible, something we can count on, something we can rely on, something that is structured. Yes, but the road to get to that has to still be enjoyable, it has to be fun, it has to be authentic, and it has to still leave room for growth and breathing and changing Gemini's mind and going down different roads and listening to their intuition and listening to the pathways that open up for them, instead of getting so hell-bent that I have to do it this way. My life is supposed to be this. I have a cream-colored house with a red roof in a forest somewhere. I'm supposed to work hard and buy that house and then have a partner. That's how my life is supposed to go. This says, no, it's one avenue, and this could still be exactly what Gemini will get later, but it's after they first open up their energy flow and accept that they may have other purposes, other people to connect with. They may be living out of a suitcase for a while, and it could be the most enjoyable phase of their life. But even that, don't get too attached to, because that's not your only role in life. You're coming around to meeting that emperor. So to be flexible in order to have genuine stability is what this story is really about. This Gemini is on a path of joy, a path of expansion, and a path that leads them to somebody. I think this is going to be the love of a lifetime, but it's more than that. It's a completely, like, they're in love with their life. But it began with a character that is brave enough to look at their life and say, wait a minute now. There's a lot of ups and downs that we face, but there's also ultimately, like, I love this life that I live. I love the not knowing. I love the mystery of it. I love the fact that there's a ton of variety. I love the fact that it's a mixed bag. I love all of this. That is how they were able to get in the mindset to embrace this huge journey that comes next. That's a really, I liked this whole energy of this. I liked the entire message from the universe. That's kind of the vibe that I was going for today with the cosmos behind us. I wanted to look at things from a slightly different perspective, a higher perspective, and I really enjoyed this one. So Geminis, thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. If you do enjoy my storytelling and want more of it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I thank you guys so much. Sweet Liberty, peaceful Brad. Good to see everybody. Take care. Bye.